We are 6 races through the 2023 Wawa Cup Series, and all these races so far have been on the oval racetracks. Well, that's going to change here today as we head to the capital of Texas and one of the most interesting road courses in America. This is the Circuit of the Americas and the 7th race of the season in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series, the Rowdy Energy 375K for the 7th race of the season. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to Austin, Texas and COTA, Circuit of the Americas. For the first time ever in the Cup Series, we come here on this 3.427 mile road course, and it's going to be a fascinating race here today. 17 laps of action around this very intricate road course here in Austin, Texas. 20 turns. It's the most turns we have on any course on the entire Wawa Cup Series circuit. Of the 4 road courses we go to, this is by far the most detailed and just crazy road course. But thing is, it's also the slowest pace road course, and because of that, it's going to be difficult to pass early on in the race. But we're going to have ourselves 2 cycles of pit stops in this event here today, and that's going to really shake things up. I got Stuart Grett alongside me. Great to have you back, mate. It's been a long time since we've called a race together. And your driver, Matt Tuck's leading in the point standings, starting in the 4th position. He may not get a good jump at the start, at least in terms of getting the race lead, but what does he have to do to get to the race lead through the cycle of pit stops that we're going to have here today?
Well, a lot of the early parts of the race is about finding where the best places to overtake are. You're going to see a lot of strategy come into effect. And throughout the run, you're going to see, the strengths and weaknesses of the car, the guys that you're going to end up racing. So, these guys at the front here are going to find out, where the best places you can find to overtake them. It's going to be so important in this race.
Absolutely. The turn going down the backstretch, that tight left-hander, one of the best places to make a pass, and one of the last S's there. We saw a lot of action there in the IndyCar race on Tuesday. Matter of fact, the 2 race leaders got into each other at that part of the racetrack on Tuesday. I don't think we'll quite see that level of attrition for these guys, because these guys go much slower around this race course than the Indy cars do. They're going to be much better able to control it than the Indy cars, but we could still see some attrition as these guys go into those slow corners. In testing, we've seen a lot of these guys kind of back into each other, and if they get enough front-end damage, they're going to have to come down the pit lane and repair it, or worse, just get knocked out of the race. So hopefully we don't see too much of that today, but it's anybody's guess what we're going to see here in the 7th race of the season here at Circuit of the Americas, but I'm excited for it. We're going to go ahead and get these guys to roll off. And of course, starting on the pole for this race, as you can see, it's Alliera there in the number 5. Won the first 2 races of the season there for Dracoan Racing Enterprises, but since then she's fallen a little bit behind in the points. Our points leader coming into this race is that number 54 of Matt Tuck, your driver Stuart there, who almost won at Rockingham last week, just could not hold off Thomas Troxel there at the end of the event. But nonetheless, he retook the points lead, 8 points ahead of Christian Master coming into this race. Nicholas Samadillo, 9 points behind. And then Echo Evans-Ross, you see her starting there in the 3rd position. She is 16 points behind coming into this race. And then 20 points behind is our last winner, Thomas Troxel. Grabbed that race victory in the Cheerwine 400 for Pacific Racing, their first win of the season. He's 20 points behind coming into this event. And of course, Alliera starting on the pole alongside the Phoenix winner of Braden Perez, who kind of stole that win away from Matt Tuck. A lot of the guys have been stealing wins away from Matt Tuck lately, and I know Matt Tuck would love to go to victory lane here. I know you would love to see him go to victory lane as well. Echo Evans-Ross, Matt Tuck there in row number 2. Echo Evans-Ross looking for her first career win on the channel. She's the only one, top 6 starting, who has not won an event yet this season in the Wawa Cup Series, but I feel like she might have a good shot here today, starting in the 3rd position. Blaine Keys and Thomas Troxel, they make up row number 3. And then you got Andrew Miller, Justin Zaidel there starting in the 4th row. Miller, great starting position for him there in Nathan Orman Motorsports. This team won the IndyCar race with Cole Raymond on Tuesday, so maybe they'll get 2 for 2 here. And then Nicholas Samadillo to the inside of the Sprint Series driver, Skylar Taylor. Great opportunity for Skylar to get his first win on the channel as a Sprint Series driver. The Sprint Series drivers did an excellent job last week. Jim Vinson left, finishing in the 3rd position. They did an excellent job at Las Vegas in this Cup race, but just trying to see those ratings come into play for these guys, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up going down. I think everybody's right. You know what? I think Elijah Gordon may have an issue, so we're going to go ahead and reset it. And we'll get back to coverage here from Circuit of the Americas. We had this happen in the sprint race, and I don't feel like redoing all that, so we'll be right back here from COTA. And we're back here at Circuit of the Americas, and hopefully our issues are done for the day. Get this race underway. Of course, no cautions here at Circuit of the Americas, so it's going to come down to those pit stops. And with that in mind, Stuart, who do you think is going to get the race victory here in the Rowdy Energy 375K?
Well, I'm not going to bet against my guys. Obviously, Matt and Justin starting 4th and 8th in really good positions to challenge for the win. But if I had to go someone else, I think Echo Evans-Ross, the only driver in the top 6 to have not won an event, as you mentioned earlier, but she is right now 4th in the championship. She's had a really good year. Would not be surprised if she went to victory lane today.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's been starting up front in a lot of these races. Of course, she started 2nd in Rockingham and fell way back immediately. Hopefully that's not happened to her here today. It's going to be a little bit harder to fall back immediately, only unless you wreck out. It's a difficult place to make a pass, and we'll definitely see that in effect in the first run. But once we get to that first cycle of pit stops, I think we'll see an interesting race here today. Well, Allier going for her 3rd win of the season. Perez going for his 2nd. We'll have to see what they can do. The pace car's down the pit lane. It's our first road course of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series. 17 laps of action here in Austin, Texas. We're green flag racing in the Rowdy Energy 375K at Circuit of the Americas. And look at that jump there at the start. Echo Evans-Ross with a great run to the inside. Blaine Keys looking to take 2nd away from his teammate Valiera, and the pole sitter falling back to 3rd right there. Perez battling with Andrew Miller. That inside lane got a very good boost there at the start of the race. But your pick to win outside of your own drivers. Echo Evans-Ross taking the race lead away there on lap number 1. That was a great jump for her.
Absolutely, and very smart into turn 1. Knew that the inside lane was where it was going to be.
Contact! Miller and Perez, and that was the same place. We had a lot of issues in the IndyCar race on Tuesday. The first lap of the race, we had Fitzwater and Ace Garcia get into each other there, and it did not go well, but thankfully it went a lot better for those guys. Into the top end of the racetrack, that's the tightest corner on the race course. And mainly these guys have filed it out single file. A little bit of 3-wide action back in here, though. Joey Hightower, Drew Webb, Laura Chung trying to figure it all out. But it looks like we got through that first part of the course clean. And everyone's still out there running well here at Circuit of the Americas. How about Blaine Keys? Great jump for him there. From the 5th starting position up to 2nd there. And Yer did not get a good jump there at the start of the race.
It got a good jump, but made the decision, kind of overdrove it and decided to go into the high lane. That was, obviously not the right decision in the hindsight, because Evans-Ross and Keys obviously got past pretty easily in the end. So it'll be interesting to see how, if she can get back up past this 39 and past the 55.
It's going to be interesting to see. Nonetheless, a great run for her, and I know she wants to get as many points as she can to keep that number 5 in the chase hunt. Of course, won the first 2 races of the season at Homestead and then the Daytona 500. And she had a great start to the season, but the past few races have been a little iffy for her there. Perez is in 4th, and then Andrew Miller. Miller's had a very difficult season. 28th in the points coming into this race. Here he is running with a lot of guys who have already won races this season. Nicholas Sambadio is one of those guys who hasn't won a race yet this season, but he is 3rd in the point standings. And then Matt Tuck, he started in the 4th position. Gonna fall back after all that is said and done to 7th. So only lost 3 positions there. And then it's Chase Buck, Thomas Troxel, and Christian Vargas, the top 10 here. And nice and orderly now up at the front for these guys, which is good for these guys to make it to the end. Make it to the cycle of pit stops, I should say. But once we get to that cycle, things get a little interesting. And it looks like we've already had some interesting things go on. You'll see that in the corner of your screen. Sam and Oskin in the 75. Brian Webb with damage. Kukulon again on the first lap. He has not had a lot of good first laps here as of late. Wrecked out on the first lap last week. And then Daniel Paulus Jr., another tough break for the 44 team. But more likely than not, those guys kind of jammed up on one of the corners, and that is why they are a little bit further back in the field. Blaine Keys trying to close in here on the 39. We've yet to see a pass in a stock car yet here. We saw it in the IndyCar series on Tuesday, but Blaine Keys trying to get it here on the 39.
trying to maximise the speed off the turn there. Just running a little bit wide on the entrance, and then trying to dive it back in. But unfortunately, not as good a run off the turn as he would have liked as Evan Ross. Just pulls away, just down the back straightaway.
Echo Evans-Ross, she's in a good position right now, and she could kind of hold the key on this strategy, but that is going to be interesting because these guys, they're probably going to get 4 tires on the first stop, but it's the second stop that I think is going to really determine and when these guys come in for their second stop, because the tire wear is significant here, a lot of slow corners, and when you have those fresh tires compared to everybody else is going to determine how well you run near the end of the race, and of course, the end of the race is where you get the checkered flag and the race victory, so you want to be fast near the end, and that is when we also can see these guys really make some passes on this racetrack. When everyone's kind of on the same set of tires, these guys generally stay in a line, but once we got different strategies going on, get some comers and goers here at Circuit of the Americas, and that could get very, very interesting. Thomas Troxel trying to go back-to-back here in the Wawa Cup Series, grabbed that race victory at the Rockingham Speedway, only led 5 laps of the 99 laps run there. Of course, LJ Sameta was the dominant guy, and then he lost the race lead to Matt Tuck late in the going, and then Troxel took it away. But your guy Matt Tuck obviously had the issue with Phoenix, but trying to keep it in the top 10 and remain in the points lead. But thing is, a lot of the guys that he's battling with in the points standings are also top 10 with him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the best thing is going for him at the moment is Christian Masters starting right at the back of the field, second in the points. Yeah, and you look at Evans Ross is 4th in the points, Sam Adio's up here, Liara's up here, you know, there's a lot of Chase Buck is in the top 10 in points, he's there or thereabouts as well. You know, Proxel as well. Yeah, the best, you know, all these guys kind of up here. Got to make the most of these opportunities when you can, particularly when you've got someone that is in that kind of fight for the chase positions. To make the most of these runs here.
And of course, qualifying very big here at Circuit of the Americas, so that's where those qualifying ratings really coming into effect for these guys. And like I said, I think we're already starting to notice certain drivers really have an advantage over others, and Matt Tuck, obviously one of them. Nicholas Samadio, another very quick driver this season, was actually the points leader heading into Rockingham last week before he had a poor qualifying effort there and just couldn't get anything to go his way, but good run for him here today. Lane Keys, Allier, they're all on that 39. It's just so hard to find a good run anywhere on this racetrack. We got Justin Zaidel, however, trying to take one away from Vargas, but the inside lane off that corner is not a good place to be, and Skylar Taylor trying to get something to work there. Go through the field and see how everyone else is doing. Everyone kind of generally single file, kind of just waiting. And now I actually do have a double wide battle here. Brady Mardi Gras, though, with some damage in the 73. He's probably going to have to come down the pit lane and repair that. That looks significant. As Ozkin and Kukulon, Brian Webb, Daniel Paulus Jr. all still out there on the racetrack on the lead lap, but obviously with the damage to their race cars from prior contact. But everyone's still on the racetrack. All 40 drivers still in this race, so relatively clean start here. A little bit better than what we had on Tuesday in the IndyCar series. But I got to keep on selling those pit stops because that is when this race is going to get interesting. So don't worry. I know they're kind of single file around this place right now, but this is just part of the race, and getting to that cycle of pit stops is really what's going to make this race interesting. We'll have to see what all these drivers can do in trying to get this race victory.
Yeah, and pit stops, when you come in, is going to be really interesting as well, you know, in terms of who's going to run longer and who's going to come in earlier. Are we going to see overcuts, undercuts, yeah, and who benefits from that? Particularly in both cycles of pit stops. So that's one to keep an eye on. You know, who can move up through the field via maybe coming in earlier, and who drops back as a result.
And of course, how close you are to the drivers ahead of you and behind you when you come down the pit lane is also a big factor. And all these guys generally right on each other too. They may not be passing, as I say that. Perez almost got in the air there off the exit or off the entrance of turn 1. And lost a little bit of ground to her right there, but Miller unable to find a lane around. Miller might try it here on the 23. You might want to watch for this. Of course, if they stay close enough there, I think we have another double wide. Nope. You know, that camera angle there makes it look like there's a double wide battle coming off that second corner quite a bit, but that's not the case here at Circuit of the Americas. Everyone's kind of still single file, but right here, this corner, this left-hand and then right-hand corner, right there is where we saw all the action take place in the IndyCar race, but these guys don't go near as fast, and I don't think seeing these guys kind of switch back as much. A lot harder to actually lose the race car when you're not going as fast through that corner, and it looks like these guys are going to remain in their respective positions. Another thing, too, you see how close they close in there on that top end of the racetrack, and I think that's probably what we saw with Daniel Paulus Jr., Sebastian Kukulon, Brian Webb there. the first lap of the race probably got into each other by jamming it into the corner. When they're all bunched up like that, sometimes they get into each other. You got Philip Torres here on Chris Reynolds. Ladovic Charette there on Tanner Parton, but like I said, that inside lane does not have any grip off the exit, and definitely seen that come into effect. As I think we may have had some guys come down the pit lane. Monaco, Hightower, Vincent left, Crown Jr., and they've not had a good run this season in that 21. They had an engine go bad at Rockingham, and once again, they're off the pace in that 21 machine. But, you know, if they didn't lose too much time, all those guys, if they didn't lose too much time on the pit lane, then it's possible that that strategy could play out for them, and they may be able to stretch it on one more stop to the end of this race. We're just going to have to see if that does come into effect. But the problem is, they're already at the end of the field now, and they're quite a ways behind our race leader here, who is doing a great job keeping this 39 out front.
Yeah, if those are scheduled pit stops, they might have some short-term benefit, I suppose, but they are stuck way down the order. That's the problem. I guess we'll find out if they are kind of scheduled pit stops in the not-too-distant future as to when the leaders come in, but you get short-term benefit, obviously, with the fresher tyres, but it comes back to hurt you in the long run, particularly as these guys, you know, figure out the best points for attack.
And of course, those guys could have also come down due to damage. Of course, we were probably missing quite a bit that hopefully will catch in the corner of your screen. There's a lot of guys kind of getting into each other in these slow-paced corners, like some of the slowest-paced corners we have on the entire circuit. You know, you're going down that backstretch 190 miles per hour, and then you slow it down to nearly 50 miles per hour in that left-hander, and that's definitely one of the places these guys have to be careful with. Go through the order here. Christian Master, I don't think he's actually come down the pit lane for anything yet. He's in the 43 machine, and he has moved up to 29th. So Monaco, Hightower, we have 11 guys, I think, that have come down the pit lane at this point. Elijah Gordon, another driver with issues in the 69 machine. I mean, we almost had him have an issue earlier on. We had to reset the field there for him, and turns out that didn't do too much good for the 69 team. I see a lot of guys, obviously, with the hood off their race cars because of that crash damage. Fisher G also coming down the pit lane. Doesn't appear that he has too much. He's got some rear damage. That would be why. He probably got rear-ended by somebody at some point there.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do that, obviously, with the high braking zones. It's one of the hardest braking racetracks on the schedule. So, you know, these guys not probably used to that. Particularly, you know, this is the first time we've been to the Circuit of the Americas, so
right there.
I guess it's not too unsurprising. There you go.
Sam Medeo just bumped into Miller. Thankfully, that was not a violent hit, so Sam Medeo should be fine. But if you hit that driver ahead of you enough, it could damage your engine.
Indeed, and obviously rip the whole front end off and completely, you know, obviously down the straight, it's going to affect you aerodynamically, so definitely not ideal.
Not at all. Blaine Keys here, still in second. Still within about 8/10, at least the last lap around of Echo Evans-Ross right there, and Allier is still third. In the start of the race, we really didn't talk up the start of the race that much. We did so in the sprint race because those guys didn't have a pit stop, and obviously that really determined who got the race victory, but Echo Evans-Ross, she dove right to the inside there, took that race lead away, and that could win her this race, but granted, we still got a long ways left to go here at Circuit of the Americas and 2 pit stops left. And this is where those pit stop ratings could also come into effect because, you know, we're 7 races in. Of course, 8 weeks we have adjusted those ratings now. So going to be a bit of a discrepancy between different teams on the pit lane and who has a better pit crew than others. And we'll have definitely see that come into effect here. But even the strategy is going to be something that comes into effect in this race as well, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it ends up all going down. I think these guys are probably going to come down next time by right here. I think everyone else here is staying out. Actually, Chris Reynolds. Now, this could be a scheduled stop for Brad Stover, and Zeidel's coming down, and Seth Cole. So I actually think we've had a couple guys. I think these are scheduled stops. For Zeidel, he had a rough go at it at Rockingham. He's trying to get something to go his way. And then Seth Cole and then Brad Stover in the 48 still on the pit lane. He may have crash damage, but the 54, or excuse me, the 51 and the 82, I think they are good to go. And we'll have to see if they end up surpassing these guys because they're going to have the fresh tires here on this lap. And they'll be gaining a little bit of ground on our race leaders.
I was just about to point out that Justin, I think, pitted because he was there or thereabouts around the top 10 and then just kind of vanished. So that was the assumption there. But you know, as I said earlier, you get the benefit early of fresher tyres, and then long term might be a bit painful, and you might start to fall back down the order. Albeit might only be 1 lap difference. So I tell you what, 24's moved up. I don't know if the 24 had the that was a scheduled stop for the 24, but he's moved up the order quite a bit.
I don't see much damage on this 24 either, and he's ahead of Zidell right now. Monaco, I think, may have also been another driver who had already come down. But I think this is where we're going to see that difference. Justin Zidell here, I think he's got a much faster car than Hightower. He's got slightly fresher tires now. I think we'll see him actually make a pass on this 24 at some point. But Seth Cole, another guy with that strategy as well in the A2 machine. Of course, he's a little bit ways behind there. Kind of stuck in traffic with Sam Odoskin, Sebastian Kukulon, Brady Mardi Gras. And then Chris Reynolds came down because of damage right there. We'll try to catch all we can in the corner of the screen for you guys without disrupting the broadcast too much. But I think we're going to see our race leaders come down this time by right here. So let's see if Echo Evans Ross leads them down. And here we go. So the strategy going to come into play right here. Actually, Blaine Keys, Aliera, Braden Perez. Oh, wow, that's fascinating. A lot of guys staying out right here. I thought we'd have more than that, but those guys will more than likely come down the next time. Troxel coming down now. Dylan Matthews just outside the top 10, also coming down in the 47 machine, but a lot of guys staying out here. Bit of a strung out cycle here for these guys.
I suppose the idea for the 55 was do the exact opposite of what 39 does. So if the 39 comes down, you stay out. If 39 stays out, you come down and try and find a way around. Was that 2?
It may have been 2. That was a little quick for it not to be 2. That's going to be interesting because I don't know how well that strategy is going to work out. We'll see where they come in relation to Monaco, Hightower, and Zidell. Monaco kind of getting an advantage here on... this one's going to be close with Troxel, but Echo going to get out ahead of those guys. I wonder if Christian Masters also come down the pit lane because he's got a bit of a buckle on his hood right there. They may have come down to do a little damage repair, but no advantage really for Zidell there in that moment, and Dylan Matthews kind of coming off the pit lane here, trying to get around this 51 machine. It's going to be a tight one right there through the S's.
I think the problem, I don't know if the 24 is actually pitted or not, and I think the 51 may have just got stuck behind potentially, and here we go, maybe not quite close enough there, but under a lot of pressure. 47, obviously we talked about Evans Ross, but Matthews of course is also Hamel Racing Enterprise entry, so he's kind of moved his way up a little bit, so not a bad effort from him so far in this one.
Not at all. We'll have to see how it all ends up cycling through. Still have a lot of guys who have yet to come down. You see how well Echo Evans Ross did, though, on that cycle. Ruggeldorn's yet to come down the pit lane in the 1, and he is just ahead of this 39 machine, and this 39's got much fresher tires, so she's probably going to get a pretty good advantage here. She's going to actually try to dive bomb it on the 1. She's got to be careful not to get into him there. But that right there is the difference that we're going to see in this race. Being able to make moves like that is what you can do with fresher tires here, and that's what Echo Evans Ross did there on Ruggeldorn. And that is 4th position, so he's now up to 19th with all these guys still yet to pit ahead of her. And I would imagine Blaine Key is going to lead him down right here.
Good overtake, and very good awareness from Ruggeldorn as well to move out the way, realizing that the 39 has got the fresher tires, has pitted, and get out of the way. But you've got to be careful if you're the 39. You don't want to be bogged down with lap traffic.
Absolutely
all these guys get bogged themselves down in pit road. So,
difficult entry into the pit lane here for these guys, especially for these big stock cars, but thankfully they're getting through cleanly, and if that place gets blocked up, we're going to end up redoing the race. And hopefully you're seeing this, and we didn't end up redoing the race. Echo Evans Ross, though, she's already off turn 20 here. However, and I think this is going to be interesting. These guys, they'll have the fresher tires, and they're definitely taking 4 right here. So they're going to be a bit faster during this run. They'll probably close in on her, and then they may be able to stretch it kind of to the end a little bit longer than have fresher tires near the end of this race. So we'll have to see if that's the case. Blaine Keys was the first one down of these guys, and he's going to come off right here. But Echo Evans Ross is out of here in the 39 machine. We'll just have to see if this strategy ends up working. Yer is going to lead a lap. She's going to get a bonus point towards the championship for that. Troxel there in second on the same strategy as the 39. And Blaine Keys is going to get behind Justin Zidell. So staying out there on those worn tires for that long may not have been the right call in the short term, but we'll have to see if that strategy ends up working out for him near the end of this race. But of course, the starting lineup, or should I say the finish, or the running order right now, not entirely accurate. I think the 39 is in fact back out front. She is, and then Troxel, Dylan Matthews is 3rd, and then Hightower there in 4th. Great run for him, and then Zidell rounding out the top 5.
was just about to say, I'm curious because they all took 4. The leaders that came down, the 55, the 523, Andrew Miller as well. They all took 4 tires compared to the 39 who took 2. That's going to be one to keep an eye on to see how quickly these guys can close in. I think Zidell probably took 2. If Hightower pitted, he probably took 2. Matthews probably took 2. Truxell as well. So the lap times, you've got to keep an eye on them. And to tell you what, Matthews' car's pretty quick as well.
Yeah, he got around Hightower and Zidell. Oh, and that's not good for Blaine Keys.
Not good at all.
That might take him out because that's a very vicious hit there into the corner. Samadillo on Perez and Miller. How about that for Samadillo getting around both of those guys there? That 59's looking pretty sporty. So now with Blaine Keys and his damage, he may be the guy. Zidell's kind of stuck behind Hightower. I think he's used up his stuff to a point where he really can't get a run around this 24. However, Hightower's going to probably be coming down here soon because he came down either lap 3 or lap 4. So many different strategy calls going on right now. We're going to try our best to keep it all together and figure it all out as we go along. But everyone's made a stop now in this race. We're not quite halfway through. We'll be halfway through once we hit the top of the racetrack on this lap. And Echo Evans-Ross back out front here in this Rowdy Energy 375.
Yep, and it's, those cars are fast. The Hamel Racing cars, they're both, right now, I think they'll be first and third when this all cycles through. Pit strategy, obviously, coming into effect, I suppose, but the 39's been able to hold the race pretty much the entire way. The 51 came down.
Yeah.
Zidell and Hightower.
Yeah, he did. So they're both coming down right here. They're going for a 3-stopper. That's going to be fascinating. And Hightower down the pit lane here, and that'll get out of the way for Blaine Keys. I'd watch out for Samadillo as this run goes on. He looks pretty fast. He made 2 passes right there in one shot. Seth Cole also down here. You know, these guys might have to make another stop in this race. It's a bit of an early stop for those guys. They came down on lap 5. I don't know if they're going to be able to stretch. It's lap 9 now, and they're already on their 2nd stop, so this may not work out well on Stewart. I know you adjust the strategy ratings on on your own team right there, so it might not be a good strategy out of Zidell. We'll have to see how it ends up coming into effect. Hightower kind of at the advantage of those guys, though, so we'll have to see if he cycles back up front in this one. Meanwhile,
51 I saw had to repair a bit of damage on the rear, so he had a bit of a slower stop there. I did notice that.
Yeah,
and that's going to be one key.
He got ran into by Blaine Keys, so that's probably part of that. But I don't know about those other guys there, Hightower and Seth Cole. They weren't caught up in that. I don't think we missed anything.
And one more thing, if these guys are pitting, the 51, the 82, they came down earlier, chances are we might see Evans, Ross, and Truxell and Matthews. They might have to make a 3-stopper, which might play into the hands of the guys that only need to stop twice.
We'll have to see if Blaine Keys can hold that 55 out there with that buckle on his hood. Obviously ran into the back of Zidell there that last lap, but did not come down the pit lane to repair damage. So we'll have to see. They're going to repair it regardless if they're on the pit lane next time by. It's just the way this game works. If there's any damage, they don't ignore it, and that could definitely slow Blaine Keys down. And that's why I'm kind of looking at this 59 and Nicholas Samadillo. I feel like he's going to have a shot. And you're right. Here's Echo Evans-Ross. She's down again for her 2nd stop, and Troxell's also going to do the same.
The left sides only were interesting call.
And that may not have been the right call there. Blaine Keys going to assume the race lead right here in the 55 machine. So, obviously, Samadillo, Blaine Keys are going to be able to make this on 2 stops the way this one has gone. But these guys here trying a 3-stop strategy, trying to get those fresh tires, and I just don't know if that's going to be the right call. Echo Evans-Ross down, Troxell down as well, and it'll probably be a 4 tire for these guys as well. They only went 2 that last time. But they're going to fall behind now, so we'll have to see where they come out in relation to Hightower and Zidell. Dylan Matthews also in, those 3 guys. But the rest of the field came down a lap after them. So most of the field here came down and are going to be doing this 2-stop strategy. Here's Hightower coming across the line. We'll see where he comes out in relation to the 39 of Echo Evans-Ross. And no contest there. That 39 is way out and ahead, but kind of mired in lap traffic here. You got Trey Wright, Rogel in the middle of all this. And Troxell not really gaining much on the 39 either, but it's going to be fascinating to see They cycle back to the lead when the rest of the guys come down for their second stop. Blaine Key still out front here, 2.5 seconds on Sam Adeo. Well, he's got that buckle on the hood, and this is looking really good for this 59, and maybe even retaking the points lead. And he's got 9 points behind Tuck coming into this thing. Matt Tuck's running well once again in the 54. Probably won't be a race victory for him here today, but still, after what happened at Phoenix, I think he'll take any top 5 that he can get. And currently running in that 5th position.
Indeed, I'd be happy to see him obviously get a top 5 as well. Phoenix was very disappointing. That's a bit of an understatement. But he's been in the top 5 in every race, even Homestead, where he ended up way down the order. He was top 5 for a lot of that race. So he's had a great year, and may not get the win today, but now doing a very good job once again.
Kind of holding on to this 5th position right now. We'll see if these guys come down this time around. I don't think that's going to be the case. Blaine Keys leading this field for Dracoan Racing Enterprises. Won the Mellow Yellow Smoothfest at the beginning of the year, but he has yet to receive a top 10 in a points-paying race yet. It's not been the best of seasons for this driver. Of course, his teammate Aliera has won twice already. She's had a lot more success this season. But Blaine Keys trying to do what he can to get his first points-paying win in quite some time on the channel. It's been a while since he's gone to victory lane officially in the Cup Series. I think it was Season 6 at Atlanta. And that would have been 5.5 years ago. So it's been a while for Blaine in that 55 machine. Well, not in the 55 machine. He was in a different car back in the day. And they're staying out once again, so it's guaranteed a 2-stop for these guys. But you got to think, too, and just like you said, Stuart, tire wear coming into effect. Vargas coming down right here. This is going to be interesting for the 57 if he gets an advantage on the tires. Here's Echo Evans-Ross. Now, she'll probably have to make another stop in this race, but right now she is 20 seconds off, so we'll have to see if she can gain enough time on these laps on the fresher tires on the race leaders. I think that's what she's banking on. It's a very interesting strategy call. We'll have to see if that ends up working out for her. I think Eric Monaco's also on that strategy as well with these guys. Either that or he's a lap down. I don't really fully know where he is right now. It's kind of all over the place. 21st right now for him, and then Troxel is, in fact, right behind him there. Only driver a lap down is Brady Murdergall. Everyone's still out there on the racetrack, though. So even though we've got a lot of guys down the pit lane for multiple issues in this race, everyone is still out there. So thankfully not a race of attrition like we saw on Tuesday in the IndyCar Series, where everyone quite literally just wrecked all the time, especially through the S's there. Blaine Keys actually pulled away from Sam Adeo that lap, so that buckle on the hood is not affecting him, but my concern is they're going to have to repair that on the pit lane, and that could slow them down.
And that would be cruel for him because he's done a really good job. Started from 5th, made his way up to 2nd pretty much immediately. I'm curious with the 39 and the 62, the 47. They could stretch it all the way and make it a 2-stop. Potentially.
They could.
I'm not sure if that's the right strategy, but they came in with, lap 10? So they'd be really pushing it. I'm not sure if that's the right strategy. Everything's all over the place in terms of strategy.
This is the first time we've come here in the Cup Series. This is kind of all new for us here, and then couple that with the ratings and just everything else. It's like, what is going on here? I know for sure that these guys have one more stop, and Blaine Keys is going to come down here. I think Sam Adeo, Miller going to come down as, whoa, Miller's staying out. That's fascinating. That is very fascinating right there.
Coming down next time, I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, so he's going to be going for the fresher tires near the end of this race. I'm going to focus on Blaine Keys here because I feel like he's going to have a slow stop because of the buckle on his hood. Miller going to get a lap lead here at Coda. We'll see how slow this 55 is compared to the 59.
See Matt Tuck also staying out in the 54. Chase Buck, Ali Liara, Swarter. A lot of the field coming down, but a few guys staying out as well.
Let's see if this 55 stays on for an extended period of time, but obviously Matt Tuck staying out there. There's Sam Adeo coming off, yep, and there's the repair on the 55. And it wasn't that slow, but it was enough to lose the position on Sam Adeo. So now Sam Adeo kind of in control. But now remember these guys. You got Hightower and then Dylan Matthews, and now the 39 is out ahead. And to your point, what if they stretch it here to the end? Will that 59 be able to make it? But I just don't think they're going to be able to stretch it on fuel. I don't think the fuel's going to work out for them. I don't think they're going to be able to make it on fuel, but even if they were, the tire wear could definitely come into effect. So we had quite a few guys stay out there. See if we can find him. Completely lost him there. Andrew Miller in the 88. There he is, with Matt Tuck currently second. Chase Buck, Aliera, Fitzy, top 5. You know, Fitzwater's had a terrible season here in the Wawa Cup Series. Absolutely abysmal. Definitely not up to his standards. 32nd in points. Has yet to get a top 10. But he's right now top 5. Kind of on an interesting strategy right there. I think Philip Torres there is in the 6th position. Charette there in the 61. Rogaldorn, Trey Wright. Those guys have all yet to come down the pit lane for their second stop. Echo Evans-Ross has already made her second stop, and there she is right on the back bumper of Trey Wright, but she may have to make a third stop. And she's got a bit of an advantage here on San Benito. This strategy may work out even if she has to come down again. This is going to be fascinating, and this is what we were talking about this whole race. This wasn't really going to be a race on the racetrack, more so a race on the pit lane, and that's what it's been. And we got 3 completely different cycles going on right here, and any of these guys can get it done. Andrew Miller currently out front for Nathan Orman Motorsports. Of course, they won on Tuesday in the IndyCar Series. Maybe some of that magic returns for these guys here. He's going to come down. Matt Tuck. Another lap out for Matt Tuck. Oh, brother.
That's interesting.
And he's going to be losing
completely
time.
different strategies.
I think he's going to be losing
different
time.
strategies.
Yeah. So Miller down. Chase Buck down. There's Fitzwater, Torres, Charette, Dorn, and then Trey Wright. We'll see if Hightower comes in, because Hightower was down much earlier. He's going to come down. This is his 3rd stop of the race. And then San Benito should be done for the rest of the day in terms of the pit lane. So now, Matt Tuck out front. He's got a lap led. Everyone's getting some bonus points here today. I mean, everyone's led a lap. Aliera also on that same strategy as Matt Tuck, staying out once again. But this 39 is closing in. And if all these guys have to make one more stop, Echo Evans-Ross may actually get the advantage. You know, she may actually go fuel only on the last stop. I'm wondering if that is what she's thinking of. Troxel kind of still on the strategy as well. And then, how about Christian Master? I think Master actually just got passed by Troxel, but Master has been able to kind of come to the back of the field on strategy. Travis Cramp is now in the 5th position. I think he may be on the similar strategy as Matt Tuck and Aliera right now. Roberto Crown Jr., they're 7th right now. And then you got Dylan Matthews, Nicholas San Benito, who we know can make it to the end. And then Andrew Miller just behind Christian Vargas there. Vargas came down a little bit earlier on. He may have to make another stop. But it's just all spread out, all over the place. And I don't think we're going to know who's going to win this race until the end. Zidell also down again in the 51. That's his 3rd stop of the race. He's kind of fallen off, but obviously he had the damage from what happened to him with Blaine Keys earlier on.
I reckon he got run into again, because they repaired the rear end damage on the 51.
There's a lot off the back bumper of that 51. Well, we know the 54 and the 5 have to come back down again, but we'll know that'll be their last stop. And I think this 39 is going to have to come back down again as well. She currently has a 13-second lead on Nicholas San Benito. It's going to be fascinating to see if she can jump him, because I think San Benito is in the best position right now. He's good to go to the end of this race and should not have to make another stop. But then again, Vargas and Miller not too far behind him. He's got to be careful not to make a mistake and let those guys pounce on him. I don't know, Stuart. How do you think it's going to play out? I kind of know what's going on, but I don't know who's going to win this thing.
I actually like this strategy. The fact that you can take 2 pit stops here for the 54. He's going to come down. You're going to see Liara come down as well. She goes. I actually like that. If you know that the 39 is going to pit again, because the margin's 13 seconds. So if you can kind of run similar lap times to the 39 after the pit stop, knowing that she has to pit again, might work out. I'm not sure. But the 39 is clearly in the best position at the moment. Goes without saying. So you see 43 coming down as well, 21.
Christian Master kind of on that same strategy. I think he started dead last in this race, and he was running inside the top 5 there. So San Benito, I don't know if he's closing in on Evans-Ross at all here or not. Across the line, he is now, it was 26 that last lap. It is now, oh wow. Actually, no, never mind, excuse me. It's still about 13 seconds. They were about 13 seconds off each other. That was to the race leader that last lap, so my apologies there. So San Benito is not really gaining on Echo Evans-Ross right now. So there's not really much gaining going on the racetrack. Let's see where Matt Tuck comes out here. Just ahead of Braden Perez. Alier kind of in the mid-pack right now. Kind of an interesting strategy that you guys took here. You know, he had Zidell going on a 3-stop, and then Matt Tuck stretched it all the way around. Just have to see if that ends up working out. Andrew Miller trying to get around Christian Vargas here. That is for provisionally 7th. Well, actually, I don't know what position it's for because we still got Crampton out there in the 98. I don't know what strategy Crampton's on, but he's running 3rd right now, and then Troxel there in 2nd. There's 39.
It's going to be a matter of who can stretch it on fuel and tires. We know the 54 can make. The 59's in a really good position. Obviously,
absolutely.
If he can make it back, probably win. He probably comes back and win because we're pretty sure the 39 has to pit again. If the 39 doesn't pit, the 39 wins this race easily.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to be able to make it on fuel because she came down last on lap number 9. I think lap 8 in the lap 9. So. She's stretched it 6 laps at this point. This is the longest run she's been on in that 39 machine. And Troxel's on that same strategy as well. Keep that in mind. And so is Dylan Matthews. And then Sam Badillo, who should be good to go to the end here. I mean, Blaine Keys is still going to get a good finish out of this, even though, he got that damage. It didn't hurt him too much. It may have cost him the race win, but he may finally get his first top 10 of the season here. Well, next time by, we're 3 laps to go here in the Rowdy Energy 375K. This is a fascinating race here at Circuit of the Americas. Not much action on the track in terms of these drivers passing each other, but we've got a lot going on the track, and she's going to try to stretch it here. I have a feeling. Troxel's still staying out there. Dylan Matthews, I'm wondering, I really think what she's going to try to do is stretch it to the end and maybe go fuel only on the last lap and maybe try to jump Sam Badillo. That might be what she's going to try to do, but I don't know if it's going to work because this 59 is only 13 seconds behind, and it's going to take more than 13 seconds to come down the pit lane, even for a fuel-only stop.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think that's going to work out. I think it's too long on pit road, even if you're just taking fuel. So, I don't know. I have no idea how this race is going to turn out. I legitimately have no idea. I do want to give a shout to Christian Vargas as well, the 57. He's in 5th at the moment. He's just kind of quietly snuck up there. We haven't seen a huge amount of it, but he's doing a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job out of Christian Vargas, and solid season so far. 15th in the points. Had a great run at Rockingham last week. He moved up 9 positions in the standings. And another good run here. Could put him in the chase heading into Texas next week, and that'll be an interesting race. That's going to be an 83 lapper. It's going to be a long one there for the Interstate Batteries 500 next week on the 1.5 mile at Texas. And, even though we use the new Texas, it's a lot better in the game than it is in real life. And it'll be a fascinating race next Saturday, I think at noon Eastern Time. Once again, right here on AG, the channel. And then it's Bristol after that. So, got a lot of different racetracks coming up here in the Wawa Cup Series. And this was definitely one we circled on our calendars. And these guys are showing us why. This pit strategy is very fascinating. So, we're just going to have to see if Echo Evans Ross had the right one here.
Indeed, and I think she's not going particularly fast at the moment. You see the damage on the 73 behind, but the 73's been able to kind of hang on. So the tyres are certainly wearing down for Evans Ross. The 37's out of the race.
Yeah, Fisher G. Not sure what happened to him. And anything that we catch or I catch at the end of the day, we'll try to put in the corner of the screen, but can't make any guarantees with a race like this because so many things are going on all over the place. Sam Badillo's closing in on Matthews here. Now, will the track itself actually come into effect because it's such a difficult place to make a pass if they can stretch it, especially Echo Evans Ross. I don't think Sam Badillo's going to close into her, but like for Dylan Matthews, will he be able to hold off Sam Badillo these last 3 laps, or last 2 laps actually? That's going to be the big question there. And Echo Evans Ross staying out once again, same with Thomas Troxel. Dylan Matthews here as well. It's going to be a long way without coming down for fuel, but they may have just pulled something off right here.
Indeed,
2 laps to go.
Long way to go. Long way to go.
Sam Badillo really not closing in that much here. We'll see what the difference is this time. Yeah, 11 seconds. He's gaining about a second a lap, but that's not enough in 2 laps. So Sam Badillo, I know Sam Badillo wants to get around Dylan Matthews here. I know he wants to get around this 47 and try to close in and try to pressure Troxel and then maybe try to pressure Echo Evans Ross. The big question is, will they have enough to make it to the end? Vargas, Miller, Keys, Chase Buck, I think all these guys are good to go. Matt Tuck's good to go in the 54. Should give you a top 10 run for him. Perez is good to go. That's the question is, will they be able to make it in that top 3? And Hamill Racing Enterprises, both of their drivers on that same strategy there with Echo and then Dylan Matthews looking to get a good run here. Toyota 1, 2, 3 right now, I should say. But this 39 has just been the class of the field. Even though she hasn't led every single lap, she has really shown her strength here today. Brady Mardi Gras, he doesn't have a bumper to take off that time, so you can do all he can to the back bumper of the 39 if he wants to, but we're just going to have to see. It's going to be one lap to go next time by. And I think the big thing is, will Echo Evans-Ross come down the pit lane? Or will she stay out and try to stretch it to the end here?
At this point, you might as well just go for it. Make sure that you just try and go for the win. Just go for it. You've gone this far. She's got such a massive lead. She really can just conserve fuel all around the racetrack. I mean, to be honest with you, who cares about the 73? It's a couple laps down. You could let it. You could let the 73 go. Conserve fuel and might be able to get back all the way. Surprised the 59 has not got around Dylan Matthews. That's a good performance from Matthews.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that Samedy hasn't found that advantage, but then again, we're late in the run, and eventually these tires do kind of just even out. I think that's what we saw right there with the 59 and the 47. This is the moment of truth right here. If Echo Evans-Ross comes down, we got ourselves a very interesting race. But if not, I think the 39 is going to pull it off. Here we go. Is she going to stay out? She's going to try. There's going to be a long stretch here. I said it's going to be a two-stop race, and that's what we've seen. And I think these guys are going to try to stretch it all the way to the end. Dylan Matthews as well in the 47. Very, very long stop for these guys, though. If that's the case, I think that's over half of the race that they would have made it on one tank of fuel, and I just don't know if they're going to quite have enough. But it could have been a tire strategy as well. The fuel might not be an issue. Like I said, it's the first time we're at this racetrack. Still don't quite know how it ticks, but Echo Evans-Ross seems to know how it ticks, and she's been doing an excellent job going for her first career win on the channel. Thomas Troxel here in the 62, though. Great run for him after winning last week at Rockingham. Dylan Matthews inside this top 5, and then Sambadio and Vargas currently the top 5. Got a battle right here, though. Chase Buck and Matt Tuck. I think Tuck's trying to get around this 32, and this 54... he can really go for it now. He doesn't have anything to lose at this point, and he's going to get another position there on the 32 of Chase Buck.
That fresh tyre certainly coming into effect, obviously pitted with about 4 laps to go. He's going to go after Keys here in the 55. Nobody's going to catch Evans-Ross. Troxel was a bit slower on the last lap. I think Evans-Ross has got this one in the back, but for Tuck, got to be careful because obviously Evans-Ross 4th in the championship coming in. As many points as you can. He might make a move right here on the inside.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get it to stick on the inside if he does so. Kind of jamming it up behind Vargas right here. All these guys going to jamming it up behind Dylan Matthews and Sambadio. Cannot imagine he's too happy there with the number 47 because I think he feels like he's a bit faster than him, but it's just nowhere to go on this racetrack to make that pass. Echo Evans-Ross did not have to worry about that. She started in the 3rd position. Cut right down to the inside at the start of the race. Got around Aliera and Braden Perez, and basically has not looked back since. And a very interesting strategy call here out of Hamill Racing Enterprises. Speaking of Hamill Racing Enterprises, I think this is going to be Derek Hamill's 34th career owner win on the channel. If he pulls this off with Echo here in this one, that's definitely one to behold right there for that organization. And Thomas Troxel definitely backing up that great run he had. I mean, we got a lot of guys, the top 5 in points, other than Christian Master, who's kind of fallen a little bit back in the field there. Not a good run for Master in this one. Top 5 in points have all been up front here today. And Echo Evans-Ross, she's going to be able to make it done here at Circuit of the Americas. It's going to be her first career win on the channel, and she's going to do it on pit strategy. Echo Evans-Ross wins the Rowdy Energy 375K at COTA, her first career win. Thomas Troxel is going to be 2nd. And Samadio's going to try it here on Matthews, but he's not going to have enough. And the 47 will get the podium position here with Samadio, Vargas, Miller, Tuck, Keys, Chase Buck, and Braden Perez, the top 10. Great run once again out of Skylar Taylor, finishing 11th. Aliera, the pole sitter, finishing in 12th. Laura Chung there. Zachary Fitzgerald. Great run for Everbell Motorsports. They've had a tough season so far. Both 13th and 14th, and then Philip Torres rounding out the top 15. I'm surprised they made it that long. I really am, but maybe the fuel wasn't the case, and it was just the tires. But like I said, the first time we've run this track, and still figuring it all out. But Echo Evans-Ross, she definitely figured it out to get her first career win on the channel, and this is no surprise at all. I feel like she's definitely going to be a good road course racer this season. And that number 39 for Hamill Racing Enterprises, of course, a great team right there. Obviously, they got first and third. Stewart, how about that one? That was a very fascinating event. The standings are not official quite yet. I will let you know when they are. They're still crossing the line here, but we do know that Echo Evans-Ross is, in fact, the race winner here at Circuit of the Americas. And how do you think this is going to translate to the rest of the season? A lot of the guys who are up there in the points ran very well on this race. Do you think we'll see that next week at Texas?
I think so. We're really starting to see the pack separate. The leader, the cream is rising to the top. And Evans-Ross, I obviously called it early on. She's had a great year. She's been really fast. The Hamill Racing Enterprise, of course, one of the best teams in the series, so not too unsurprising. But the way she did it was surprising in the sense of the pit strategy. Going for 2 on the first pit stop, we kind of, it was an interesting call. Wasn't really sure how to feel about it, but it was a good decision in the end. Obviously, first and third for them. Truxell as well, finishing second also on that same strategy.
And now the standings are, in fact, official there, and we'll take a look at the rest of the results. Everyone finished this race except for Fisher G. Obviously, any issues that we had in the race that were major enough to note, we put in the corner of the screen for you, hopefully. But not a good day for Brady Margras or Fisher G right there in those two positions. But that race was just all over the place. I mean, you really didn't know. I didn't think Echo Evans-Ross was going to make it to the end, but she pulled it on 2. But then you had guys like Hightower and Zidell actually go 3 stops. Seth Cole as well. And it didn't work out for him. And Zidell was up front. He was just outside the top 10 and then fell back to 27th. I know you're not a big fan of that, but Matt Tuck did finish 7th right there. But we're looking at a Troxell won last week. Echo Evans-Ross, Sam Adio. Watch out for Matt Tuck as well. Chase Buck is another guy. I kind of feel like sneaking back in there. The Pacific cars are really fast. One of those guys may end up getting the championship here. And we're only 7 races in, but it's going to be fascinating to see how it ends up playing out near the end of this. It's just a little early on in the season, near the end of the season, because it will really be interesting once we get to the chase and see who gets it in there and how those ratings are going to be affected once we get to that point. But hey, next week we'll see a lot more passing on the racetrack. I know that seems strange to say with it being the Texas Motor Speedway, but it's a good track in the game. And Aliera won there in the Truck Series last fall, so she may get her second win of the season. We'll have to see if that is in fact the case. But final thoughts on this race, Stuart. Echo Evans-Ross getting it done in the 39, but how do you think about this race? And how do you think we'll see this play out, I should say, at some of the other road courses we'll have this season?
I'm not sure if we'll see as much strategy. I think for a lot of these guys, the first race here at Circuit of the Americas, a lot of it was just trying to figure out what was the right strategy. And I don't know if we're going to see that at a place like Watkins Glen, for example. But everyone knows about Watkins Glen. We've all raced there so many times. So I think it was really, there's a lot more passing on the track at Watkins Glen, for example, as well. So, really important for the pit crews, to make sure you get the strategy right. We saw that today, first, second, third, all on the same strategy, and it was a very good one. So, that's going to be something that I think a lot of teams are going to have to keep in mind, particularly when adding the ratings at the back end of the year.
Absolutely, and of course, hopefully tomorrow is when I'll get that up for you guys, so you guys can submit your ratings, and you have until Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time now. We just did daylight over here, so may affect if you're in a different country like Stuart is, so hopefully it didn't mess with you too much when you were adjusting. But then again, if you just do it when it first comes up, you don't have to worry about making that deadline. That's the big thing there. Well, very fascinating race. We'll look at the finishing results once again for you guys, so you just kind of have an idea of where everyone else is. And next week it's the Interstate Batteries 500 from the Texas Motor Speedway. That'll be a fun one there. And then we got Bristol and Martinsville coming up, Talladega, and then my home track of the Dover Motor Speedway. I'm looking forward to that race. There'll be a great slate of races coming up here in the month of April. Thank you guys so much for watching. A huge thanks to Stuart for joining me once again for this race here from Circuit of the Americas, and huge congratulations to Echo Evans-Ross for getting her first career win on the channel here today. The Rowdy Energy 375K. Here are the point standings for the Wawa Cup Series after 7 races, and we'll see you guys next Saturday at noon from the Texas Motor Speedway. I will see you guys later.